All right, let's bring in Dr. Nancy Snow. She's a professor at Tsinghua University. She joins us from Beijing. Good to have you on the show. The idea is that the North Korean leader is using his country's missile and potential nuclear tests to pressure the United States and other countries into lifting international sanctions. How likely is that? I mean, considering what we've seen from the West since Tuesday's launch.
I don't think it's very likely, but I would suggest with this test, as alarming as it is, or with this launch of this ballistic missile over Japan, that we've got to be cool, calm, and collected in response to North Korea's actions. North Korea is very much engaged in its own form of diplomacy and communication. It doesn't know how else to communicate with the world but through these weapons systems. And so we'll have to wait and see. I think, though, since I actually live as a resident of Japan, but I'm currently teaching part-time as a visiting professor here at Tsinghua, that Japan will go forward with increasing its defense budget, that the Kishida administration will be given more of a green light in that arena, given this action and what will likely be a nuclear test to follow.
Yeah. That is Japan's likely reaction. I'll ask you about China's in just a bit, but when you look at sort of the strategy of the North, I mean, tests are an essential part of Kim Jong-un's stated goals in terms of advancing his missile program. If you also think about him declaring his country a nuclear state, I mean, the ultimate goal here is to develop an ICBM with a nuclear warhead. That would be a logical assumption.
Absolutely, and he's been very consistent about this. We may not like Kim Jong-un, we may not like his actions, but he hasn't really strayed from his interests, his goal in being listened to as not a member of the global civic society, but rather a nuclear power state. Because indeed, when we look around the world, the most powerful countries are nuclear countries. Yeah. And so he wants to be taken seriously. He doesn't want South Korea to outmatch North Korea. South Korea, like Japan, has the security umbrella of the United States. And this is his response to sort of rattle the cages of the West, to see how the West will respond to this. He also wants to drive a wedge, if he can, in the Western allies coming together. We've seen that of late with the Quad, with this free and open Indo-Pacific, with the efforts of Japan and the US and other countries now to militarize like they haven't before, not only in response to China, but also to the North Korea threat. Now, what will be interesting to see going forward is the public response to this. I was in Japan 5 years ago when the ballistic missile flew over Hokkaido and all of the alarms went off. And it was alarming then, but people got over it very quickly. It was sort of, there he goes again with North Korea. I think we have to take this seriously, but also not overreact, because he wants the West to overreact and also to start fighting among itself.
Cool, calm, and collected, as you say. All right, Dr. Nancy Snow, thank you very much for joining us here on the NewsHour. Enjoyed having you on. Thank you.